The morning sun filtered through the worn curtains of Lily's small apartment as she hummed softly, watering the row of potted herbs on her windowsill. At 32, Lily Wang had built a life that most would consider ordinary, but to her it was rich with purpose. Her tiny two-bedroom apartment sat above the local bookstore in Millfield, a town small enough that people still greeted each other by name. Lily brushed a strand of dark hair from her face and glanced at the clock. She had just enough time to finish her morning routine before heading to Little Sprouts Kindergarten, where she had taught for the past 8 years. The children were her joy. Their honest smiles and curious minds made every day worthwhile. Another beautiful day, she said to herself, a habit she'd developed after her grandmother passed away 3 years ago. Grandma Lynn had raised her to find beauty in simple things: freshly baked bread, a child's laughter, the first flowers of spring. These values had shaped Lily into who she was, someone who found happiness not in expensive things, but in moments of genuine connection. After a quick breakfast of oatmeal with cinnamon and bananas, Lily dressed in a comfortable blue skirt and white blouse. Her wardrobe wasn't fancy, mostly items from local shops and a few hand-me-downs from her cousin, but everything was neat, clean, and chosen with care. The walk to Little Sprouts took 15 minutes. Time Lily used to greet neighbors and breathe in the fresh air. Mr. Peterson waved from his porch. Mrs. Dawson shared that her roses were finally blooming, and the mailman joked about the sunny weather being too good to last. These small interactions filled Lily's social cup. She had never been one for big crowds or flashy gatherings. That afternoon, the kindergarten principal asked Lily to represent Little Sprouts at the community center's volunteer fair. "You're our best ambassador," Mrs. Henderson insisted. "People trust you." The fair was bustling when Lily arrived on Saturday. She set up a simple booth with photos of the children's activities and a sign-up sheet for reading volunteers. 2 hours into her shift, a tall man in worn jeans and a plain button-down shirt approached. "Do you need reading volunteers who can only commit to twice a month?" he asked, scanning the photographs with genuine interest. "Absolutely," Lily replied. "Even once a month makes a difference. I'm Lily, by the way. I teach the sunflower class." "Thomas," he said, extending his hand. "I travel quite a bit for work, but I'd like to get more involved in the community when I'm here." There was something about Thomas that Lily couldn't quite place. His clothes were simple, but he carried himself with quiet confidence. His eyes showed kindness, and his questions about the kindergarten were thoughtful. They chatted easily for 20 minutes before another visitor needed Lily's attention. "I'll be at your classroom next Tuesday," Thomas said as he left, his name neatly printed on her volunteer sheet. True to his word, Thomas arrived the following Tuesday, bringing along a collection of books about space. The children were captivated by his animated reading of The Little Astronaut. Lily noticed how patiently he answered their endless questions, never talking down to them or checking the time. After class, Lily thanked him. "You have a natural way with kids. Have you taught before?" Thomas shook his head. "No, but I was raised by a mother who treated children like real people, not miniature adults in training." "Smart woman," Lily smiled. "Would you like some coffee? The teacher's lounge has a decent machine." Over lukewarm coffee and mismatched mugs, they discovered shared values: a love of learning, belief in community service, and appreciation for life's simple pleasures. Thomas mentioned he worked in technology, but quickly turned the conversation back to Lily's stories about her students. She found it refreshing that he didn't dominate the conversation with talk about himself. Thomas became a regular visitor, not just for reading sessions, but bringing science experiments that delighted the children. He and Lily fell into a comfortable friendship, meeting for coffee or walks in the park. When he asked her to dinner 6 weeks after they met, it felt like the most natural progression. Their first date was at Rosa's, a family-owned Italian restaurant where the checkered tablecloths had seen better days. But the pasta was homemade and delicious. Thomas listened intently as Lily shared stories about her grandmother, her dreams of someday opening a small learning center for underserved children, and her love of growing things. "You know," Thomas said, twirling spaghetti around his fork, "I've dated women who spent the entire evening asking about my job, my car, where I live. But not once have you asked those questions," Lily shrugged. "Those things don't tell me who you really are. I'd rather know what makes you laugh, what books changed your life, or how you handle disappointment. The rest is just Packaging. Thomas's smile reached his eyes. That's exactly what I've been thinking. Over the next months, their relationship deepened. Thomas never flaunted money, though Lily noticed small hints that he was comfortable financially. The quality of his watch, his casual mention of travel to Tokyo for work, the ease with which he picked up dinner checks. But these things didn't define him to her. It was his kindness to her elderly neighbor, his genuine interest in her students' progress, and his respect for her independent nature that made her fall in love. It wasn't until 6 months into their relationship that Lily learned the truth. They were having a picnic at the lake when Thomas's phone rang. After a brief conversation filled with terms like acquisition and board approval, he hung up looking apologetic. "I'm sorry about that. We're finalizing a major deal." "It's fine," Lily assured him. "Your technology company sounds busy." Thomas took a deep breath. "About that, I haven't been completely upfront. I don't just work in technology. I founded New Frontier Tech. I'm the CEO. Lily's fork paused halfway to her mouth. New Frontier was one of the country's largest tech companies, known for breakthrough innovations in renewable energy technology and digital healthcare solutions. "You're that Thomas Chen? The billionaire?" The tabloids sometimes featured stories about him, the private tech genius who avoided the spotlight. He nodded, looking uncomfortable. "I wanted you to know me as a person first. People treat me differently when they know about my wealth. I was going to tell you, but the longer I waited..." Lily sat quietly processing this revelation. It explained so much: his flexible schedule, his knowledge of global affairs, the calls he sometimes stepped away to take. But it didn't change who he was in her eyes. The man who patiently taught 5-year-olds about the solar system, who brought soup when she had the flu, who remembered every story she told about her grandmother. "Well," she finally said, "this doesn't change how I feel about you, Thomas. But next time you're hiding $1 billion company from me, maybe give me a heads up a little sooner." Her gentle teasing broke the tension. Thomas laughed with relief, reaching for her hand across the picnic blanket. Their relationship continued much as before. Lily insisted on paying her share when they went out, lived in her same apartment, and continued teaching. When Thomas proposed 7 months later, it was with a simple sapphire ring that had belonged to his grandmother. They married in the community garden where they'd spent countless Saturday mornings volunteering. Lily wore a dress she found at a local boutique, refusing Thomas's offers of designer gowns. Only 40 guests attended, mostly Lily's colleagues, neighbors, and a few of Thomas's closest friends. None of his wealthy family members were present, a detail Lily didn't question at the time. After the wedding, Lily moved into Thomas's home, not the mansion she had expected, but a tasteful house at the edge of town with a large yard perfect for gardening. She continued teaching, started a weekend literacy program for adults, and adapted to being married to one of the country's wealthiest men while maintaining her down-to-earth lifestyle. "Won't you at least let me buy you a new car?" Thomas asked one evening, eyeing her 15-year-old sedan with concern. "That thing is a safety hazard. It passed inspection last month," Lily protested. "Besides, I like my car. It has character." Thomas knew when to press and when to concede. He respected her need to maintain her identity separate from his wealth, even if he didn't always understand it. What Lily didn't realize was that her first real test was approaching: the annual Chen family reunion, where Thomas's extended family would meet his new wife for the first time. They were nothing like Thomas. They flaunted their wealth, measured worth by bank accounts, and had initially been appalled that the heir to the Chen fortune had married a kindergarten teacher from nowhere. "Are you sure you don't want me to come with you to pick out something to wear?" Thomas asked as the event drew near. "I have plenty of nice things," Lily assured him, thinking of her favorite blue dress that she'd worn to her cousin's wedding last year. Thomas hesitated but nodded. Lily had no idea what awaited her at the upcoming family gathering, or how her simple ways would become the target of cruel amusement among people who couldn't comprehend the value of a life rich in purpose rather than possessions. The invitation to the Chen family's annual gathering sat on the kitchen counter for 3 days before Lily finally picked it up again. Thick cream-colored paper with gold embossing announced the annual Chen family reunion at something called Pine Crest Estate. According to Thomas, this was his parents' summer home, a concept that still seemed strange to Lily, who had grown up sharing a bedroom with her cousin. "We don't have to go," Thomas said, noticing her staring at the invitation during breakfast. "My family can be. A lot." "They're your family," Lily replied, pouring more coffee into her favorite chipped mug. "And I'm your wife now. I should meet them." Thomas reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Just remember, their opinions don't matter. What we have is real." Something in his tone made Lily look up. "Are you worried they won't like me?" Thomas chose his words carefully. "They have very different values than we do. My parents are okay. They've worked hard their whole lives. But some of my cousins, my Aunt Victoria especially, they judge people by their bank accounts, not their character." "Well," Lily smiled, trying to lighten the mood, "I'm a kindergarten teacher married to one of the richest men in the country. That should confuse them nicely." As the day of the gathering approached, Lily found herself standing before her closet with increasing concern. She had never cared much about designer clothes or expensive jewelry, but now she wondered if her best blue dress, the one she'd worn to 3 weddings and her college graduation, was good enough for meeting the Chen family. "What about this?" she asked, holding up the dress as Thomas walked into the bedroom. His pause was brief but noticeable. "It's lovely. You always look beautiful in blue. But not good enough for your family," Lily said, reading between the lines. "Lily, no, that's not—" "It's okay," she interrupted. "I'm not upset. I just need to know what I'm walking into." Thomas sat on the edge of the bed. "They'll be in clothes that cost more than a teacher's monthly salary. There will be people whose only job is to look good at parties like these. But none of that matters to me." Lily hung the dress back up. "Maybe I should go shopping." "Only if you want to," Thomas said. "Don't change for them." But Lily did want something new, not to impress Thomas's family, but to feel confident. She visited a boutique in the nicer part of town and found a simple but elegant deep green dress that fit her perfectly. At $300, it was more than she'd ever spent on a single item of clothing, but as she looked in the mirror, she felt both like herself and like someone who wouldn't be completely out of place at a fancy gathering. The morning of the reunion brought another complication. Thomas's phone rang just as they were preparing to leave. "I'm so sorry," he said after a tense conversation. "There's a problem with the Beijing deal. I need to be on a video call in 30 minutes. Lily's stomach tightened. "How long will it take?" 2 hours, maybe 3. "You should go ahead. Take the car we arranged. I'll join as soon as I can." "Maybe I should wait and we can go together," Lily suggested hopefully. Thomas checked his watch. "The call might run long, and my mother would be heartbroken if you missed the lunch. She's been excited to meet you." He kissed her forehead. "You'll be fine. Just be yourself." "That's what I'm afraid of," Lily muttered, but she nodded and went to finish getting ready. The drive to Pinecrest Estate took nearly an hour, leaving the familiar surroundings of their town for increasingly larger properties with longer driveways and taller gates. When they finally turned into the Chen estate, Lily's eyes widened. The summer home was a sprawling mansion set on manicured grounds with fountains, sculptures, and gardens that seemed to stretch for acres. "We've arrived, Mrs. Chen," the driver announced, pulling up to the front entrance where other expensive cars were already parked. Lily took a deep breath and stepped out, clutching the small purse that contained her phone, to text Thomas if things got uncomfortable, and the homemade apple spice cake she had insisted on bringing, despite Thomas's gentle suggestion that there would be plenty of food. "I can't show up empty-handed," she had told him firmly. "My grandmother would roll over in her grave." Now, standing before the imposing double doors, Lily regretted not listening to Thomas. She rang the bell, and seconds later the door swung open to reveal not a family member, but a man in a formal uniform. "Mrs. Chen," he said with a slight bow. "Welcome to Pinecrest. The family is gathering on the south terrace." Lily followed him through the house, trying not to gawk at the soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers, and artwork that probably cost more than her entire apartment building. She heard the party before she saw it, the clink of glasses, the murmur of conversations, occasional bursts of laughter. The terrace overlooked an infinity pool and perfectly landscaped gardens. About 40 people dressed in what Lily could only describe as casual wealth, outfits that looked effortless but probably cost thousands, stood in clusters, holding champagne flutes. An older woman with Thomas's kind eyes detached from a group and approached. "You must be Lily," I'm Grace, Thomas's mother. Lily shifted the cake to her left hand and extended her right. It's wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Chen. Please call me Grace. She glanced at the container in Lily's hand. What's this? Apple spice cake, Lily said. Family recipe. I hope it's okay that I brought something. A flicker of surprise crossed Grace's face before she smiled. How thoughtful. I'll have someone take it to the kitchen. She waved over a server who took the cake with a polite nod. Thomas had an emergency work call, Lily explained. He'll be here as soon as possible. Typical Thomas, Grace sighed. Always working. Come, let me introduce you to everyone. The next hour was a blur of names, polite smiles, and thinly veiled curiosity. Lily met Thomas's father, Howard, a serious man who asked several questions about her teaching career before being pulled away by a business associate. She met cousins whose names blended together, second cousins, aunts, uncles, and family friends who all seemed to share the same unspoken question. What was Thomas Chen doing with her? No one was openly rude, but Lily felt their assessment in every glance at her dress, which now seemed woefully inadequate. Her simple hairstyle, her lack of expensive jewelry. She overheard snippets of conversations about summer homes in the Hamptons, private jets to Paris for shopping weekends, and boarding schools in Switzerland, all delivered in tones that suggested these were normal topics, not the stuff of fantasy as they seemed to Lily. She was standing alone, wondering if it would be rude to text Thomas again when a woman approached. She was perhaps 10 years older than Lily, impeccably dressed in a cream-colored pantsuit that probably cost more than Lily's yearly salary. So you're Thomas's the wife? The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. I'm Victoria, his aunt, his mother's sister. It's nice to meet you, Lily said, extending her hand. Thomas has mentioned you. Has he? Victoria's perfectly shaped eyebrow arched. All good things, I hope. Before Lily could respond, two younger women joined them, both in their early 30s, both looking like they had stepped out of a luxury magazine. This is my daughter Patricia, Victoria said, and Thomas's cousin Charlotte. The kindergarten teacher, Patricia said with a smile that wasn't entirely friendly. How sweet. We were just so surprised when Thomas announced he'd gotten married, Charlotte added. He's always been so focused on work, and then to choose someone so different from our usual circle. Thomas has always valued authenticity, Lily replied, keeping her voice even. It's one of the things I love about him. Victoria laughed lightly. Authenticity is a luxury for those who can afford it, don't you think? The rest of us have standards to maintain. Lily felt her cheeks warm. I'm not sure I understand. No, I don't suppose you would, Victoria said, her gaze traveling from Lily's dress to her simple flat shoes. Tell me, what does one discuss with 5-year-olds all day? Colors and shapes? Patricia snickered behind her champagne glass. Actually, Lily said, early childhood education is the foundation for all future learning. My students are learning to read, developing critical thinking skills, and how dedicated, Charlotte interrupted. And so noble, working for what, 40,000 a year? Thomas must find that charming. Lily glanced around, hoping to see Thomas arriving, but the terrace doors remained closed. She took a sip of her champagne for courage and decided to change the subject. Your home is beautiful, she said to Victoria. Have you lived in the area long? This is just one of our properties, Victoria replied dismissively. Our primary residence is in Manhattan, but we have places in Palm Beach, Aspen, and a little pied-à-terre in Paris for Fashion Week. That sounds complicated, Lily said honestly. I can barely keep one home organized. The women exchanged glances that made Lily feel like she had just confirmed some private joke. Well, Patricia said with exaggerated kindness, not everyone is cut out for our lifestyle, and it must be so rewarding to shape young minds. The conversation continued in this vein, every question designed to highlight the gulf between Lily's world and theirs, every comment a subtle reminder that she didn't belong. Lily maintained her composure, but inside she was counting the minutes until Thomas would arrive. Would anyone like to try Lily's homemade cake? Grace Chen appeared beside them, holding a plate with a slice of the apple spice cake Lily had brought. The kitchen staff said it smells wonderful. Victoria looked at the simple cake as if Grace had offered her dirt. Oh, how rustic. Did you actually bake this yourself? My grandmother's recipe, Lily said, grateful for Grace's intervention. I haven't baked anything myself since college, Charlotte said. That's what personal chefs are for, isn't it? Lily watched as Victoria took the smallest possible bite, her expression making it clear that homemade anything was beneath her. It's interesting, Victoria pronounced. Very homey. Lily caught Grace's eye and saw a flash of apology there. At least Thomas's mother seemed to understand how difficult this was. But as the afternoon stretched on with no sign of Thomas, Lily found herself wondering if she had made a terrible mistake in thinking she could ever fit into this world, or that she even wanted to. An hour into the party, Lily found a quiet moment to check her phone. No messages from Thomas. She sent him a quick text. How much longer? Everyone's asking about you. That wasn't exactly true. Most people had already moved past their initial curiosity about her and returned to conversations that excluded her entirely, but it felt better than writing, please hurry. I'm miserable here. She tucked her phone back into her purse and tried to look comfortable standing alone near a giant arrangement of flowers that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The luncheon was about to start, according to the uniformed staff who were now directing guests toward an enormous table set up at the far end of the terrace. Lily, dear. Grace Chen appeared at her side. Come sit with Howard and me. Grateful for the rescue, Lily followed Thomas's mother to the table. Unfortunately, the seating arrangement placed her directly across from Victoria. Patricia and Charlotte, with Thomas's empty chair beside her, serving as a constant reminder of his absence. The table was a stunning display of wealth. Fine china, crystal glasses, silver cutlery that was probably actual silver. Lily counted 3 forks at her place setting and felt a flutter of panic. Which one was she supposed to use first? She watched Victoria from the corner of her eye and mimicked her movements. Start from the outside and work your way in. She had read that somewhere. The first course arrived, some sort of soup with truffle shavings that cost more per ounce than gold. So, Lily, Howard Chen said kindly, Thomas tells me your literacy program has been quite successful. Lily brightened at the chance to talk about something she knew well. Yes, we've expanded to 3 neighborhoods now. The adult reading levels have improved by nearly 40% in just 6 months. How charitable, Victoria commented. Though I've always thought literacy programs were a bit basic. Our foundation focuses on bringing fine art to underprivileged communities. Cultural literacy is just as important, don't you think? All education has value, Lily replied carefully. But it's hard to appreciate Monet if you can't read the plaque beside the painting. Several people nearby chuckled appreciatively, and Victoria's lips thinned in displeasure. Thomas mentioned you grew up somewhere rural? Patricia asked with exaggerated interest. What did your parents do? My father was a mechanic, Lily said, noticing how Patricia's eyebrows rose slightly. And my mother was a nurse before she passed away. I was mostly raised by my grandmother. How quaint, Charlotte said, exchanging glances with Patricia. Like something from a Hallmark movie. A real salt-of-the-earth background, Victoria added, in a tone that made it clear this wasn't a compliment. The server appeared at Lily's left, offering a bottle of wine. Not knowing much about wine, Lily simply nodded, watching as the deep red liquid filled her glass. That's a 1982 Chateau Margaux, the man beside her commented. About $500 a bottle if you can find it. Lily nearly choked. For wine? The man laughed as if she had made a clever joke. Yes, for wine. The Chens don't serve anything less. Lily took the smallest sip possible, suddenly afraid she might spill this liquid that cost more than a week of her salary as the main course arrived, some kind of fish that had probably been swimming in the ocean that morning. The conversation around the table turned to recent vacations. Victoria was describing her month-long stay at a private island resort when she looked directly at Lily. What about you, Lily? Where did you and Thomas honeymoon? He whisked you away somewhere fabulous, I'm sure. We went camping in the national forest, Lily said honestly. Thomas said he wanted something peaceful, away from phones and business. There was a moment of stunned silence before Patricia burst into laughter. Camping? Like in a tent? With bugs and dirt? Thomas Chen, heir to billions, slept on the ground for his honeymoon, Charlotte said, her voice rising enough that nearby conversations paused. That's priceless. Lily felt her face grow hot. We had a wonderful time. The stars were amazing. I'm sure they were, Victoria said with a tight smile. though most of us prefer to see stars from the deck of a yacht in the Mediterranean. Howard Chen cleared his throat. Thomas has always valued experiences over luxury. It's one of his best qualities. Lily shot him a grateful look, but the damage was done. Several people at the table were now openly watching her with amusement, as if she were an exotic specimen in a zoo exhibit. When dessert was served, something French that Lily couldn't pronounce, she excused herself to use the restroom, needing a break from the constant scrutiny. She took her time, touching up her lipstick and sending another text to Thomas. Please call when you can. I need to know when you're arriving. When she returned to the terrace, most guests had left the table and formed small groups again. Lily spotted Grace talking to an older gentleman and moved in that direction, but was intercepted by a server carrying a tray of champagne. More champagne, Mrs. Chen? He offered. No, thank you, Lily declined. But I'd be happy to help you clear some glasses. If people are finished, the words were out. Before she could stop them, a habit from countless community potlucks and family gatherings where everyone pitched in to clean up. The server stared at her in confusion. That's not necessary, ma'am. I didn't mean to offend, Lily said quickly. Where I come from, everyone helps with cleanup. Where you come from, Charlotte's voice came from behind her, loud enough for others to hear. People probably eat with their hands and drink out of mason jars. Lily turned to find Victoria, Patricia, and Charlotte watching her with barely concealed amusement. There's nothing wrong with helping others, Lily said, keeping her voice level. That's what the staff is paid to do, Victoria replied. I'm sure the concept of household staff is unfamiliar to you. Lily took a deep breath. My grandmother taught me that no one is too good to clean up their own mess. How wonderfully proletariat, Patricia smirked. Does Thomas know he married a communist? Several people nearby laughed, and Lily felt the sting of tears threatening at the back of her eyes. No, she wouldn't cry. Not in front of these people. I think your grandmother sounds like a wise woman, a deep voice said, and Lily turned to see an elderly man with kind eyes. I'm Robert Chen, Thomas's grandfather, the one who actually made the money that these vultures are living off of. Victoria's smile faltered. Uncle Robert, we were just having a bit of fun. At the expense of a guest in this house, Robert said firmly. My nephew chose this woman as his wife. That deserves your respect, whether you understand his choice or not. Lily gave him a grateful smile, but the moment of support was short-lived. As Robert moved away to greet another guest, Victoria leaned closer to Lily. Don't think having the old man on your side means anything, she said quietly. He'll be gone soon enough, and then we'll see how long Thomas keeps his kindergarten teacher pet project. Thomas married me because he loves me, Lily said, the words sounding hollow even to her own ears in this place where everything seemed to be measured in dollars and status. Men like Thomas don't marry for love, Patricia chimed in. They marry for advantage. What advantage do you bring, I wonder? She's probably fantastic in bed, Charlotte stage whispered, just loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Why else would he pick someone so basic? Lily felt as if she'd been slapped. Before she could respond, a server approached with a fresh tray of drinks. In her attempt to step back from Charlotte's cutting words, Lily bumped the server's arm. The tray tipped, sending glasses of red wine cascading down the front of Victoria's cream-colored pantsuit. The gasps were audible across the terrace. Victoria shrieked as if she'd been burned, looking down at the spreading stain in horror. I'm so sorry, Lily said immediately, grabbing a napkin from a nearby table. Let me help. Don't touch me, Victoria snapped, backing away. This is Chanel. It's ruined. It was an accident, Lily insisted, aware that all eyes were now on them. No, I didn't. Thomas shook his head firmly. Nothing is more important than you. I made a mistake today, and you paid the price for it. Lily leaned back against the seat as Thomas started the car. Your mother was nice, and your grandfather. They're the only decent ones in the bunch, Thomas agreed, his hands tight on the steering wheel. The rest? Well, now you see why I keep my distance. They drove in silence for several minutes, the sprawling estate disappearing behind them. Lily watched the scenery change from manicured lawns back to normal neighborhoods, feeling the tension gradually ease from her shoulders. What Patricia said, she began hesitantly, about me being after your money. You don't need to address that nonsense, Thomas interrupted. I know you better than that. But they don't, Lily said. And maybe they never will. Maybe they'll always look at me and see someone who doesn't belong. Thomas pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face her fully. Listen to me, he said, his voice intense. Those people back there? Their opinion means nothing. They measure everything and everyone by dollar signs. But they're your family, Lily said softly. No. Thomas shook his head. They're relatives. There's a difference. Family are the people who love and support you, who make you a better person. He reached out to touch her cheek. You're my family, Lily. She leaned into his touch, feeling tears threaten again, but for entirely different reasons this time. I just wanted them to like me, she admitted. They don't like anyone, including themselves, Thomas said with a sad smile. That's their tragedy. As they pulled back onto the road, Lily watched Thomas's profile, sensing there was more going on behind his calm exterior. His jaw was set in a way she recognized, the same expression he wore when tackling a difficult business problem. What are you thinking? She asked. Thomas glanced at her, a glint in his eyes that she hadn't seen before. I'm thinking that my family needs a lesson in what really matters in life. What kind of lesson? Lily asked cautiously. The kind they'll never forget, Thomas said, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Do you trust me? Lily studied his face for a moment, seeing nothing there but love and determination. Always. Thomas nodded, his decision made. Then let's go home. I have some calls to make. As they drove back toward their house, Lily felt something shift between them. The humiliation of the day still stung, but there was also a strange sense of freedom. She had seen the worst of Thomas's world and survived it. Whatever came next, they would face it together. What she didn't realize was just how thoroughly Thomas intended to address the situation, or how his response would change everything, not just for them, but for the entire Chen family. 3 weeks after the disastrous family reunion, Lily was reading to her kindergarten class when she noticed Thomas standing in the classroom doorway. He rarely visited her at work, understanding her need to keep their personal and professional lives separate. Sorry to interrupt, he said when the story finished and the children had been dismissed to recess. But I wanted to invite you to lunch. Lily glanced at the clock. I have 30 minutes. Is everything okay? Thomas nodded, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. Everything is perfect. There's someone I want you to meet. The someone turned out to be a distinguished woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes, waiting for them at a quiet corner table in Lily's favorite local cafe. Lily, this is Diana Powell, Thomas said as they sat down. She's the former CEO of Powell Education Group and a pioneer in early childhood education reform. It's an honor to meet you, Lily said, immediately recognizing the name. Diana Powell's research had shaped modern teaching methods and influenced education policy nationwide. The honor is mine, Diana replied warmly. Thomas has told me about your literacy program. It sounds remarkable. The conversation flowed easily as Diana asked thoughtful questions about Lily's teaching philosophy and community outreach. It was only when their coffee arrived that Thomas finally explained the purpose of the meeting. Diana is helping me set up a new foundation, he said, watching Lily carefully. The Chen Education Initiative, and we'd like you to run it. Lily nearly spilled her coffee. Me? But I'm just a kindergarten teacher. You're far more than that, Diana corrected. You've developed innovative teaching methods, created a successful adult literacy program from scratch, and demonstrated exceptional leadership skills. The foundation will have an initial endowment of $50 million, Thomas continued, with a focus on early childhood education in underserved communities, adult literacy, and teacher training programs. Lily's mind raced. That's a lot of responsibility. Which is why Diana has agreed to serve as an advisor for the first year, Thomas said. You wouldn't be alone. I need some time to think about this, Lily said honestly. It's a huge change. Of course, Thomas nodded. But there's one more thing you should know. He paused, looking somewhat mischievous. I've scheduled the foundation's launch event for next Saturday. At our house. Next Saturday? Lily frowned. But isn't that when your family's charity gala is happening at Pinecrest? Exactly, Thomas's eyes gleamed. Everyone who matters in education, philanthropy, and local government will be at our event instead. The Chen Education Initiative is going to overshadow everything my family does. Lily understood then. This was Thomas's lesson to his family. Not revenge exactly, but a clear message about priorities and values. Will your family be invited? She asked cautiously. They'll receive invitations tomorrow, Thomas confirmed. Whether they come or not is up to them. The week passed in a whirlwind of preparations. Lily, after careful consideration, had accepted the position as the foundation's director. Thomas had converted their rarely used formal dining room into a temporary office space where Lily, Diana, and a small team worked on the foundation's initial grant programs. Responses to the launch party invitations poured in. The mayor confirmed his attendance, along with the state education secretary, respected academics, and influential philanthropists. The only silence came from the Chen family, until Thomas's phone rang Thursday evening. It was his mother. "You're really going through with this? On the same night as the family gala?" "I am," Thomas said simply. "Your father is furious," Grace said. "Victoria is calling it a deliberate sabotage." "It's a statement of priorities," Thomas corrected. "Lily's foundation will do more good in a month than the family charity has done in years of gala fundraisers." There was a pause before Grace spoke again. "Is our invitation genuine?" "Completely," Thomas assured her. "Lily and I would be happy to see you and Dad there, even after what happened at the reunion." "That's why I'm doing this, Mom. Not as punishment, but as clarification. I want everyone to see Lily the way I do. Brilliant, compassionate, and capable of changing lives for the better." After saying goodbye to his mother, Thomas found Lily in the kitchen, reviewing her speech for the event. "Do you think any of them will come?" she asked when he told her about the call. Thomas shrugged. "My parents might. The rest, probably not. Their pride won't let them." "I'm not doing this to humiliate them," Lily said firmly. "I really believe in what this foundation can accomplish." Thomas kissed her forehead. "That's exactly why you're the perfect person to run it." The night of the launch party arrived clear and cool. Thomas and Lily stood together at the entrance to their backyard, which had been transformed with twinkling lights, elegant but understated decorations, and space for 200 guests. Lily wore a simple navy blue dress, not designer but beautifully made by a local seamstress. "Nervous?" Thomas asked as the first cars began to arrive. "A little," Lily admitted, "but a good nervous. Like the first day of school." The evening unfolded better than either of them could have hoped. The mayor gave a glowing speech about the foundation's potential impact. Diana Powell publicly endorsed Lily's leadership. Pledges of support and collaboration came from universities, tech companies, and other foundations. An hour into the event, Thomas spotted his parents at the entrance. They weren't alone. Behind them stood Thomas's grandfather, Robert, his gentle smile visible even from a distance. "Look who's here," Thomas murmured to Lily. They made their way through the crowd to greet the unexpected guests. Robert embraced Lily warmly. "I wouldn't miss this for anything," he said. "I've been telling Howard for years that the family charity needs real purpose, not just fancy parties." Howard Chen looked uncomfortable but managed a stilted congratulations. Grace was warmer, genuinely interested in the foundation's plans. "There's something else you should know," Robert said, his eyes twinkling. "I've decided to match Thomas's endowment. Another $50 million for the foundation." Thomas looked stunned. "Grandpa, that's incredibly generous." "It's my money to give," Robert said firmly. "And I choose to support something meaningful." As the evening progressed, Lily found herself standing near the refreshment table when she felt someone approach. She turned to find Victoria Chen standing there, looking distinctly out of place. "I didn't expect to see you here," Lily said, keeping her voice neutral. Victoria glanced around at the successful event, the influential guests, the obvious respect Lily was receiving. "I almost didn't come. Patricia and Charlotte refused to." "But you did," Lily observed. Victoria sighed. "My father insisted. Robert can be persuasive." They stood in awkward silence until Victoria spoke again. "Your foundation, it sounds impressive. It wasn't quite an apology, but it was something." Lily decided to accept it as such. "Thank you," she said. "We've already identified 20 schools for our first round of grants." Victoria nodded stiffly. "I should congratulate Thomas as well." "Where is he?" "Speaking with the education secretary," Lily pointed across the garden. "But before you go, I want you to know something." She met Victoria's eyes directly. "I'm not doing this to compete with your family or to prove anything to you. This work matters to me, regardless of what happened at the reunion." Something shifted in Victoria's expression. Not quite respect, but perhaps the beginning of a reassessment. As Victoria walked away, Thomas joined Lily, slipping an arm around her waist. Was that civil conversation I witnessed? As civil as it could be, Lily smiled. Your grandfather is quite the force of nature. Always has been, Thomas agreed. He built the family fortune from nothing. He understands your background better than any of them. The party continued into the night, a resounding success by any measure. Later, as the last guest departed and they stood alone in their yard still glowing with string lights, Thomas pulled Lily close. You were amazing tonight, he said softly. Everyone could see what I've always seen in you. Lily leaned into his embrace. This foundation, it's going to change lives. Real people, real children. That's the lesson I wanted my family to learn, Thomas said. That there's more to life than status and money. That someone like you with your background and values can make a far bigger difference than all their social climbing and designer clothes. Did they learn it, do you think? Lily asked, glancing toward where Thomas's parents had stood earlier. Some did, Thomas replied thoughtfully. My parents, maybe. Grandpa obviously gets it. The others, time will tell. And if they never do, Thomas kissed her gently, then that's their loss. We'll be too busy changing the world to worry about it. As they walked hand in hand back to their home, not a mansion, but a place filled with love and purpose, Lily realized that the humiliation she had felt at the family reunion had transformed into something powerful. She had found her calling, one that would impact thousands of lives. And in doing so, she had shown Thomas's family that true worth came not from wealth or status, but from what you gave back to others. The simple kindergarten teacher had indeed been given a lesson that day at Pine Crest, not in how to fit into a world of privilege, but in recognizing her own strength. And now she was teaching a lesson of her own, one of compassion, purpose, and the true meaning of success.